Hey, what is going on, everybody? Very excited for this episode today. This is number 14 on the Holt Outdoors podcast, and I'm your host, Brendan Holt. Very excited for this one. We finally got some rain here in Southwest Missouri, so just giving another update. I'm about halfway through the treatment of Ehrlichia on Shy. He's about halfway into the doxycycline, and I've been hunting Ruby a little bit, but here in the last few days, we've had a lot of stuff going on, a lot of big things with the channel and our brand. And so it's been busy, and I haven't got to hunt quite as much as I want to, but that's okay, because today we're having a guest on that is doing a lot of hunting. He's somebody that I kind of ran across on TikTok and have had a little bit of a relationship with. I've talked to him about hunting dogs and training and all sorts of things. Great guy. And I think he's got a lot that he can bring to the table today. So you guys are not going to want to miss this one. If you are looking for training advice, I'm sure there'll be some stories told and things like that. But today's theme is going to be all on training. And without any further ado, we are going to get Mr. David Lewis on here. Hey,
how you doing?
I'm doing good, David. How are you?
I'm doing good today, man. I'm just really getting up, moving around.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let me ask you: are you? I know on most of your social media stuff, you're David Lewis. Is pretty much everybody call you David, or is it Dave, or what?
Either or is it depends on the situation. I can be called a lot of things, but most people call me Dave or David. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure right off the top. So, what have you been up to?
Oh man. Well, I mean, working and hunting is basically what I do a lot of. Try to spend as much time with my fiance as I can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. But all my kids are older. They're out of the house, so I get the opportunity now to just kind of a lot of people go through empty nester or whatever, but I kind of love it.
Yeah.
To go to work and come home and talk about coon dogs or, and
Yeah. Yeah.
something never gets old.
Yeah. I hear you. I'm married. I think 3 years now. And we got a 16-month-old little girl at home, so she keeps her hands full for sure. But I try to hunt as much as I can, and it's tough at times, but it definitely takes a team of understanding people to allow you to get out there and hunt as much as you can, for sure. And I'm grateful for that, for my wife and all. But yeah, man, I really appreciate you coming on here. Like I said in the intro, I've I kind of got to know you through TikTok there, and very, very respected man you are, and your opinions and things, the way you think about things as far as training dogs goes, is very similar. I align with it, and man, I'm looking forward to just kind of talking through some things with you.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Um, yeah. So just tell us a little about yourself first, like just kind of your background, what you do for a living and things like that.
Okay, yeah. I'm from Virginia, right outside of Richmond, Virginia, about 40 minutes outside of Richmond, Virginia. um, in the Powhatan, Cumberland, Buckingham area of Virginia.
Mm,
And I began my career far as like what I do for a living is climbing trees. I was a tree climber for years, and then I'm kind of ventured over into the sales department doing consulting arborists, like working on actually diagnosing trees and stuff like that. So
mm,
that's one of my passions is trees, and it kind of correlates over into the other passion, which is coon hunting.
yeah.
I got started with coon hunting when I was about 12 years old, my father took me hunting to one of the same places I hunt right now, and my family was real big into blue ticks, so that was my
Mm,
first introduction into coon hunting was with blue ticks,
yeah,
and then I kind of went through that youth stage where I didn't really hunt a lot, and
yeah,
you know I've just been kind of on and off with coon hunting my whole life, but I've always enjoyed you know training dogs of some
yeah.
type of dog. Like, it could be a hunting dog, it could be
Hmm.
a pulling dog, it could be all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's so you got started with blue ticks.
Yeah, yep, I did. First
Yeah,
time I ever went in the woods was with a blue tick, and I'll be honest with you, when I see a real nice blue tick, it kind of pulls at my heartstrings.
yeah,
I don't particularly, I'm particular to. I'm not colorblind
yeah,
to no
yeah,
dog. Like if a dog does, if it can successfully tree raccoons on a consistent basis, I don't care if it's pink.
yeah. I
I like the dog.
I think people should be more that way. In general, people should just be like, not colorblind and just think about the characteristics of the dog and what the dog does. But I I've never, just where I'm at and where I grew up with how I started hunting, I've never known anyone but maybe a couple of people that have had blue ticks. And so I just walkers is all I've ever known. And that's
Right.
just how it's been for me. But there's definitely good ones in every breed for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah. There is. I mean, I've been in the woods with some extremely nice, you know, of every breed out there. I've seen every one of them that do what they're bred to do.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah. So you got into it, hunting with a blue tick, as a younger kid, and then how'd you kind of get back into it as you got older? Like when did coon hunting really become serious for you?
so when I was about 20 years old, 20 21 years old, I went out to Southeast Tree and Walker Days in North Carolina,
Hmm.
and I was just walking around, and at that time, I didn't really know much about coon hunting or nothing. And they had these booths set up, and there was a guy named Buck Monroe out of North Carolina that Southern Sounds Kennel. He was probably my introduction into the competition world, and
Yeah.
a lot of people out there that know who Buck is. He was a character, but so he hunted Walker dogs. He hunted like a Yadkin River, Riverbend flag line of dogs, and I didn't know nothing about competition hunting. And Buck gave me this dog when I was at Southeastern Walker Days, and he said, "All you got to do is strike and tree him."
Yeah.
So I took him hunting, and I started, and he was my first real competition coon dog that I didn't own, but I learned a lot from Buster. He was very simple to call because he didn't bark on the ground. When you struck him, you treat him, and
Yeah.
he had a raccoon when you got to the tree. Like, I didn't know what a slick tree was for a long time. I didn't understand that because you
Yeah.
know he was. I don't ever recall walking to a slick tree with Buster. Like, he had coons when
Yeah.
he treed.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my introduction into where I started, and then I went through a period in my career where I stopped for a little while, and then I started back up about 4 years ago, and I've been hunting hard ever since then. I've trained a lot of pups. I've started a lot of pups. I've been
Yeah.
unsuccessful with a lot of pups.
Hmm.
That just don't make it. They all don't make it.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. My phone just went off, so I'm pausing or muting that. But um, yeah. Well, quick question then. What you talk about that dog from back then. How many years ago was that?
So I'm 46. So that was about 20 some years ago.
Okay.
20,
So
20, 20, 24 years ago, something like that.
yeah. So what? I mean, I know this is a hot top, or this is a question that probably gets asked a lot, but I'm just specifically talking in regards to you and the dogs that you hunt. What's different about the dogs you hunt now? which we'll get into a couple of them here in a little while. But what's different about them dogs that you hunt now versus the one you was just talking about from 20 years ago?
Well, I helped me and Buck started a lot of dogs together. He would send me young dogs to start. Um and so, it seems to me nowadays the dogs back then, that line of dogs specifically, and the coma bred dogs, the hard thing was to do is to get them to tree. They
Yeah.
wouldn't. And then we went through, the Walker breed as a whole kind of went through this period in the late 80s and the early 90s where we were breeding too much tree power and then they were making too many trees.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I think nowadays, if I start 10 pups now, let's just take say 10 dogs, that I raise and start, the success rate on them is about 80% that will tree raccoons. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be the dog that I'm looking for, but I feel today the dog breeds are probably a lot easier to train and a lot, they're 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 better.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Somebody will probably say I'm wrong, but
Hmm.
that's just what you've got them special ones from my past that like I said, like Buster, that you never walked up on a slick tree, but
Yeah.
Buster had his own faults. He he didn't bark on the ground, so he was an
Yeah.
ambush dog. That's you
Yeah.
most time you walk to a tree and it was that big around. It
Yeah.
was about 4 and 5 inches around.
As a guy that starts and trains and messes with so many dogs like yourself, I'm glad you said that because, for example, this dog I'm hunting now, he's 2 years old. He didn't get started. Well, he's two and a half. He didn't even get started until he was two. And people who have listened have heard this before, but um, basically he started when he started treating coons for me. He treed 8 or 9 coons out of 10 or 11 trees and looked pretty good for a dog that I've only had for a couple months that had only been to the woods like 5 or 10 times in its whole first 2 years of its life. And then all of a sudden things start happening and it's like, some people are saying, well, maybe he's got too many coons, in his mouth, or maybe this or that. And, I just couldn't figure it out for the rest of this summer up to this point. Like, what is going on with this dog? Inconsistencies. And, there's so many variables, but I'm glad you said that because it's like, to me, if the dog's bred good, which a lot of them are today's in today's world, if they're bred good and they have opportunities and aren't ruined too early, to me it's like you said, in my opinion, 80% of them should make it. They should be able to have the ability to tree a coon, but it's the intangibles. It's like the one that doesn't waste no time naturally or is naturally independent. It's those like intangible things that separate the big winners from the dogs that can just go tree a coon. But to me it's like, you know, because everyone's telling me, oh, you got a slick treer, and I'm not gonna lie and make excuses for my dog. And that was what was happening. It was just like something was off. But to me, it's like, how does a dog start this way, but then as the summer goes on, he gets worse and worse. And um, to me, it's just like they've got that ability in them, and he wouldn't have treed the first 8 or 9 out of 10 if he was just a slick tree and idiot. Like the ability's there, but something else is going on.
Yeah,
And
and so a lot of guys are, and listen, I'm not excluding myself out of this, but a lot of guys are real quick to snap judgment, on a dog. And first of all, nowadays, we've got to look at the physical aspects of a dog. Is he physically healthy? That's
and
one thing.
that's what I was gonna say is I decided to get him tested a couple weeks ago, and he's got Ehrlichia.
Well, that could be that could be a reason why he's missing.
Yeah, yeah, and so it's like, I'll let you finish, but that's exactly right. You gotta make sure they're healthy first, and then
Yeah.
and go from there.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I mean, so as I have evolved in what I do with dogs, the number one thing for me is to make sure the dog is healthy and that it's vetted correctly. You you take your time away from your family and everything else with this hound. And I feel that if you want a top hound, you're going to have to feed it correctly and vet it correctly, because I mean, at the end of the day, they're taking a lot of risk in the woods. There's so many things in the woods that can make a dog sick nowadays.
Oh yeah.
So I'm very funny. Like, some people will say I'm anal when it comes to, like, tick prevention, heartworm prevention, feeding the dog on the same schedule. This is a when you finally get that special pup to the place where you're going to start actually putting some serious training on them. Things have to be in a rigid routine
Yeah.
with the dog, because one night that you lose your patience with that dog, you could ruin 6 months of training with that dog. And
Yeah.
I've seen it and I've done it. I have done it myself. Like, where, I mean, went completely backwards, and it wasn't his fault. It was my fault.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, and then people, with social media being out there, and, like, let's just take my TikTok channel for instance. I post this exciting video, and these guys will go out in the woods and be like, "Well, why ain't my dog doing that?" Well, that's a little clip from 2 seconds of the hunt
That ain't the
that,
whole story.
yeah, it's not the whole story. The dog probably ran a deer, treat a bear, treat three possums, and then he treat a coon, and I
Yeah.
made it look
Yeah.
good. So we've got to kind of realize that, when you see a video, that it's just a short clip of something that a big event that happened.
Oh yeah.
Um,
And that can be applied to so many different things in life in general. I mean,
100%.
I grew up deer hunting, and I still deer hunt, but I grew up watching all the big deer hunting shows, and it's the same thing with them. It's like, just because the episode you watched they killed a 200-inch deer, you didn't see the 40 or however many days they spent with it when they didn't. And that's what we try to do on our stuff, is show what it's really like to train a dog, and the ups and downs of
Oh yeah,
doing it.
listen. If I've ever had anything in this world, make me stay up at nighttime and toss and turn, it's a coon dog. I
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
obsess over it. Like, why did he do that? What, I mean, wake up in the middle of the night and can't go to sleep, because trying to figure out, especially when you get to that point where you're fine tuning these dogs, because um, the dog has to have certain attributes of natural ability,
Yeah.
but then from there it becomes how well you're able to manipulate its faults.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you start interfering with something that is, and you're making it man-made, or you're venturing over into the man-made department, you're going to see some other flaws come up that you've never seen before, and you're going to have to figure out how to address it. And I believe
Yeah.
if you just face it like a bull, you're going to ruin the dog. You're
Yeah.
because you've got him at a vulnerable state.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a great point. And that's a perfect segue into, kind of the main theme of this podcast with you here today is training. And, you know, training is kind of a interesting word. Like, some people don't like to look at it like training, but, um, because what a lot of what a dog is doing is natural to them. It comes natural to do this or that, but it's just you know, giving them opportunities and pushing them in the right direction, and correcting things here or there. But I want to talk to you about training, and I guess, if you would, just, I don't know, I figured we'd just kind of go through the beginning, the middle, and the end. When you get close to a dog that's finished,
Yeah.
in the beginning, it's a lot of just trying to get those basics, instilled in them, and then in the middle, I don't know what it is, but then at the end, you're kind of, you may have a finished dog, but you're just polishing. Um, so when you get a dog, I mean, I assume you a lot of time, like, you might get a dog that's 6 months old, and then sometimes you might have a puppy. So you could touch on both of those things. Like, what are you
Yeah.
starting with in the beginning, whether it's an 8-week old puppy or one that's 6 months old that's just ready to get started?
So when it comes, I prefer to raise hounds, raise
Hmm.
them from a pup, but here's the thing about raising them is that it can be very disappointing when that dog doesn't turn out because you have all these huge expectations. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the biggest challenges for a dog is to face our expectations as human beings. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but raising pups, man, it's not for everybody. It's not. But there is there's a set thing that I do with a pup. When I get a pup, I make sure that first of all that it's vetted correctly, that it's taken well care of. And then, if you expect that dog to be a true coon treer, and you keep him in the pen until he's 10 months old, you've put him 10 months behind,
Yeah.
and I just, so, when they're young, man, I let them run around. I have a place here, I'm fortunate enough where they run loose, free, and I let them do whatever they want. And every day when I get home, I walk them behind my house and take them to a creek, and I'll let them, get used to being in the woods. And then I start working with them, when they hit about 4 months old, is when I start working with them on leads, with the lead and lead breaking them. And usually what I
Yeah.
do with lead breaking is I tie them out. I just tie them out on a tie out, like on the
Mm-hmm.
ground.
Yeah.
So it lead breaks them. And then, when like far as feeding them, I have a lot of guys. I have a couple friends of mine that use a pickup truck bed. They have it on cinder blocks so they can teach the dog how to load up and do these
Mm.
things. And the biggest thing is to set that puppy up for success. That's
Yeah.
the biggest thing. And you got to find each dog. Every dog is different. Some dogs like to operate off of rewards. Some of them don't care if you ever pet them. They're just
Yeah.
naturally want to run game.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got to kind of know what you're looking at, right? And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
far as correction go, like like so when I'm looking at a pup and I'm gauging them, the ones that I've raised, or the 6 month old pup, I kind of take them through a short thing of like tying them out in the ground and then teaching them how to load, because I for me to keep the hound at my house, it's got to be have some very good natural talents. It's got to have, there's some few things it's got to have, but when it comes to them puppies, man, it's that I'm looking for these certain ones. And I was on the phone with my buddy this morning. And there's one that I prefer to, is called the Wanderer.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the pup that I like, is the wandering pup. Is the pup that you let it out here and you're over here working on your grill or grilling, and you look and the pup is a half a mile behind the house and he's not barking or nothing. He's just wandering through the woods,
Yeah.
and they're hunting before they even know what they're doing.
Yep.
So you got to have an eye too. And listen, man, I have, this is personal. This is true stuff, is that, I have had two pups out of the same litter, kept one of the pups, gave the other pup away, and guess what? I kept the wrong pup.
Yeah.
I kept the wrong pup because I had expectations of what the dog was supposed to look like, what it's supposed to sound like, and sometimes some of that stuff does not matter. The
Mm-hmm.
good ones. So one time a guy told me that pups are, I think it's 40-40-20 rule or something like that. It's 40% will take after their mom, 40% will take after their dad, and 20% is what you want to mix in them. It's
Hmm.
something like that. It's
That's
it's close to that.
that's a great way to look at it, really. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, they're not, and some of them might be, more tree minded, and some of them might be more track minded. Um, and then you have them pups in that same litter that are going to have that equal balance, right?
mhm.
There's no perfect dog. There is no perfect dog, but I feel that even when they're pups, like I try to condition them so they can stand correction later on.
Yeah.
And that is
Yeah.
just by conditioning that dog to set it up for success. And when it does do something wrong, I correct it and send it on, because
Yeah.
a dog has to be able to take correction to be able to be trained. And that
Yeah.
is just that's something that you cannot, it's gotta have that.
And
Like
and
if
I
you
I want to say too, like when you say take correction, that I mean, to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but to me that doesn't necessarily mean, when you say a dog's got to be able to take correction, that doesn't mean that a dog's got to be able to take getting, the crap beat out of them. Maybe some, um, but like for my little female out here, correction for her is basically me looking at her sideways and saying, "What are you doing?" You know,
right.
That
So
that
you got
doesn't
to find
mean
what. Go ahead.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
it doesn't mean that everyone has to be able to take heavy-handed stuff. Some of them need that, but not all of them.
No, 100%. I mean, most of the time when you find, so I'm not a female man. I'm
Hmm.
not. I'm not going to probably, I'm not, well, I can't say never. To this day, currently, I have never trained a female. And the reason why is because most of the time they cannot stand the corrections
Yep.
that I am, or I haven't learned how to train one of them.
Hmm. Yeah.
Females are different.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
guys are female guys and they don't like males. See, and I'm the exact opposite.
Yeah.
So I like a dog that's hard headed as they come.
Hmm.
I want them. I want them to have the most strongest self will as can be. That's just what I like.
Yeah.
I like them. That's what I like. I like the ones that
And
are
and I think like correction, to me it's like not, a dog that can take correction is one that not only can actually like take it, but then they change. They actually do something. They learn from the correction. I did something wrong, and then they adjust. Like that's what
100%,
taking
hundred
the
percent.
correction is like not just physically being
Well, they
able to
have to
take
have
it.
brains. They,
Exactly.
ha-
Yeah.
I mean, there's a certain things that you can do a whole lot with, a dog, a pup that you're looking to train. Me, if I'm looking at this pup, everybody's different, and there's a difference between coon hunting and training.
Yeah.
There is a difference. It is not the same. Cutting the dog loose and letting him just run through the woods, and he goes in there and hits a track, and he mauls that track for 45 minutes to an hour and a half. That's not training. That's coon hunting.
Yep. Yep.
Training, you would do something else to move that dog along.
Yep.
Um, but
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
yeah, there's a difference between dog training and coon hunting.
Yeah,
I don't need to go an elaborate thing about that, but there is a difference.
yeah. And another word that you said there that I think is important that we need to touch on a little more is expectations. And I've been guilty of it so bad with the first pup that I got, Boone. Not my first pup ever, but my first pup within this last couple of years. It was super hot and dry around here, and he had treed me several coons, but we were getting into summer, and he was getting to this age, and my expectations and my thought process was I just need to hunt harder. I need to hunt harder. And it was a mistake. 100%. It was a mistake. And I expected way too much. I was like, man, he's already showed me he can run this kind of track and he can tree a coon. Why is he not doing it? I just got to hunt harder. And people have got to manage their expectations and
100%.
have a little patience.
I'm still working on that. I'm
Hmm.
still, but here's the first thing to work fixing any problem is to recognize it.
Yeah.
If you don't recognize, that's so the first step is to admit, is to
Yeah.
admit to something. And if it's kind of like if you got a slick tree and you're walking to these trees because it's summertime and you're like, well, I don't see a raccoon. And you go to the next tree and you don't see a raccoon. You go to the next tree and you don't see a raccoon. Most likely there's not a raccoon there.
Yeah.
And you need to come to the realization that the dog doesn't have a raccoon. So either you need to correct it or fix it. So yeah, the worst thing that a dog has to face is our expectations. Once they learn once they start treeing coons, and all of them are not going to be what you see out here winning the world hunts. They're just not going to be. They're very few and they're very rare. And I don't think that a lot of people realize that you know that them guys up there that's winning on them big levels, man, they're shuffling dogs like we shuffle anything else. I mean, they're going through multiple dogs. They've got their hands in every area. So when they know when one comes around, they hear about it. And some
Yeah.
people prefer to just go buy that hound from a trainer that's already got all the training on it, and they just have to put a little bit of fine tuning on it. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I think a lot of people like social media is good, but I think, that Garmin system with the shocker on one end of it has ruined a lot of dogs. And I think another thing is social media with the expectations will ruin a lot of good dogs.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
100%. And I had a, I had a guy on the podcast recently, and he had a great point about expectations. And it's that for each person, and like we've said, each dog is different, each person's different, and you got to know what you're wanting out of the dog. Are you going to be just a coon hunter, or are you going to be looking to run the highest level of competition hunts or whatever? But like he said, yeah, my expectations are high, but that's because I've been doing this for 40 years and I have this measuring stick from 20 years ago. That's the best dog I've ever turned loose. And I know that if I have this dog a month and I don't see it and I don't have the bond there with him and I just feel like he's not going to be what I'm looking for, then he's moving him on to someone else, and that's fair. That's a fair a thing to have when you've got a measuring stick. But for the guys that a lot of guys that are probably watching this or listening to this, you know, they may not be running to the world hunt or whatever, and so don't compare yourself to those that are, and it
It
may.
takes a long time to get it's a lot of it's look, man, I have 2 or 3 people that I call on a daily basis, and they probably, I mean, we're good friends, but when I call, if I call early in the morning, they already know that I'm calling about a problem with the dog, and I
Yeah.
can't figure out what to do because, while that dog is sitting in that pen, I'm riding around here in a car thinking about how I'm going to fix whatever problem that I am. And I think that, that stuff takes time to develop what everything that you see a dog do and how to do it. And each dog reacts differently to what you're going to apply to it. So,
Yeah.
it, if anything is repetition and patience, man. I mean,
Yeah.
patience with a hound. If you have a really naturally talented hound that can take the training, and you have that dog that has the coon billy that has a raccoon when he trees, like he has all kinds of faults, but he has a raccoon when he trees.
Hmm.
That is the sauce that you cannot manipulate that. You
Yep.
cannot put that in a dog.
Yep.
Like just like heart. Like, a heart, that's why I said to you, I like the hard-headed ones that want to run every piece of junk in the woods. And I say this in the same sentence. I'll tell you, and then I'll call you 2 days later and say, this trash running piece of junk. I hate that dog.
Yeah.
But I do like the ones that are gonna make something happen.
Yeah.
They're gonna make
And
something happen. I just think they're exciting, and they have raccoons when they tree.
yeah. Yeah. And that's what keeps us coming back, is
Yeah,
that struggle, because hopefully one day at the end of it, there's, going to be a payoff.
yeah,
But there's something that you told me, a while ago, probably about a year ago when I talked to you on the phone, and it was about your functions on your e-collars and things like that. And you have a way of using tone, vibrate, and stimulation. And I want you to tell that a little bit, if you don't mind, kind of how you use it. I think you told me that your vibrate is like a go. And does that sound familiar?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's not a hidden secret or anything like that.
Right.
So so when I start pups, and listen, this is not original information. I have a real good friend of mine. His name is Paul. He's from Massachusetts. He moved to North Carolina, and he taught me this probably about around the same time that I told you that.
Yeah.
But maybe a little bit sooner than that, is that when I'm training pups, the first thing that I say to them is get
Yeah.
out of here, get. And then after a while, I will add a vibrate in there to make them get on. And
Hmm.
and and then that correlates later on to when you're training the dog, that if they're bogged down or they're doing something, you can vibrate them. And then eventually, when they get a little bit older, you would add a stimulation in there. There's a lot of ways to, train a dog with you have this device in your hand that has all these functions on there,
Yep.
but nothing is going to beat manually walking
Yeah.
down there and sending that dog on. None of
I
that.
I agree.
None of that's going to beat that. But you do have this device. We do have technology to make that dog. So yeah, I use the vibrate. So if you're looking down at your Garmin, it's right hand side would be tone, middle button would be continuous shock, and the left hand side would be a vibrate. And I
Mm-hmm.
use that vibrate for when I'm leash breaking them. I use that vibrate for they know that means two things: either heal or get out of here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then later on in the training, I might add something else to their training, but it's kind of building off that building block, right? Of
Yeah.
with that communication, because we have the capability of communicating with that dog in a certain ways without having to vocally do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's that's later on in the dog's training.
Uh-huh.
If they make it that far,
Yeah.
most of them, a lot of them don't make it that far, man. They not with me. They
Mm-hmm.
might be a coon dog, but they're not going to make it to me where I'm going to sit it. The ones that make me sit up at nighttime and get up out of the bed and I can't sleep,
Yeah.
they're rare.
Yeah.
They're rare,
Yeah.
and they're special animals.
Yeah.
And
And, I
I
think
don't.
the point there with the tracking system stuff is just that it can be helpful, and it can
It's a tool,
certainly, yeah, it can be a helpful tool, as long as it's not overdone and used in the wrong way. And
right?
I liked that. I wanted you to bring that up because I liked that, and I thought that was, that's a good foundation to kind of put on a pup,
Yeah, it's when you're
for
working
sure.
with young dogs, you got to build. You got to build on building blocks. It's like you stacking building blocks and you
Yeah.
building it up and building it up, and they're just layering more and more complication on it as they get it. But here's the thing: is that with a young dog or a pup, you can't. When you're starting to try to get it to tree raccoons,
Hmm.
everybody has a different method. My method is like, with Max, for instance, I did drag work with Max. you
Hmm.
know Max is he's getting ready to be 2 years old in November. I mean, October, excuse me. I don't do drag work with pups no more because I think they've got the ones that I'm going to keep have the natural treeing ability in them. I don't need to teach them that. So
Yeah.
every dog is different. But what I'm trying to say is that I lost. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah, I had a phone call.
Oh, yep.
Well,
I got
yeah,
you loud and clear now.
okay. But yeah, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, what you were saying with Max, you were doing some drag work, or yeah, you
Yeah,
don't really
yeah.
do
So
drag work anymore.
yeah, I really don't do drag work with them anymore now. Now what I do is I you know some people think I'm crazy, but I like a young dog to run deer. That's what I like them to do.
Hey,
I'll
yeah,
start them on deer.
that's
I
not
think
a
I
that's
think
not a
I
foreign thought for a
the
lot of
one
people.
the ones that I usually keep are a deer running son of a gun. If they can go in there and run a deer like a deer dog can, that's the one that I want.
Yeah,
That's the one that I want. You can have one. We could go to somewhere. Me and you're riding in the truck, and we pull up on this guy's house, and he's got some pups for sale, and they're 6 to 8 months old, and he's got one right here, every breath on the tree, yow 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 yow, and he's got a drag right there, and that dog is treeing that drag, and there's one over there behind him running a deer. I
yeah,
want the one running the deer. I
yeah,
want the wanderer. I want the wanderer. That's what I want. I want
yeah.
the one that not saying that Max's training was wrong. It's just that I think that we're too focused on treeing. Like
Hmm.
that's just the end result of what the raccoon going in the tree.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot more to get it to that tree.
Yeah, and I think, people that are listening they might be like, well, why would you want a coon dog that's running a deer? And I mean, the reason is because if they can run a deer, as fast as what I've seen some of them do it, and the way I've heard it explained is they're basically honing in their tracking abilities. If
Hundred
they
percent.
if they can run a deer at the speed of light for 4, 5, 600 yards, how are they going to handle a good coon track? Whenever whenever you get them to understanding that this is the game that we're after. So, I mean, that's
Yeah,
why
yeah,
people are saying that.
so I just let them run the deer, man. Then I keep dropping them where coons are, and then eventually, if they're a coon dog, they're gonna leave the deer alone. They'll
Yeah,
leave,
absolutely.
or I will persuade them to leave the deer alone.
Yep.
Eventually,
It's
eventually,
it's in their blood. I mean, they're,
right?
yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good point. I definitely agree with you. So what about the end? Like you're getting close to the end. I don't know if, and I guess now's a good time to kind of introduce Johnny and Max, because they might be getting close to this phase. I'm not really sure, but um what are you doing at the end whenever it's this dog is going hunting every time I turn it loose? It hunts hard. It's treeing a lot of coons, but there's maybe just a few little things um that aren't right,
Yeah, yeah. So that's where I'm still learning, and I think I'll always be learning in that area.
Yeah.
Getting them to tree and raccoons by themselves is not. I'm not saying it's easy, but that's just the beginning when you're looking to perform on a high level. Then you have to get that dog to do that same thing in company.
Yep.
And when you and some certain dogs are going to have certain challenges. Some of them might want to be around company too much. They want to cover or whatever you want to say.
Yep.
And you have other dogs that are completely the other way, that they're 100% dead loners, and their fault is when you cut them loose, they run away from the other dogs. And I'm not talking about one that you shot to do that. I'm talking about
Yeah.
naturally, it's like that from a natural state.
Yeah.
So, you've got to know first of all, you have to know that dog. You have to know it inside and out and what it's doing and what kind of dog you are looking at. You know what I mean? Are you
Yeah.
looking at one that has some company issues, that he wants to be around company too much?
Hmm.
Because on the higher level hunts, man, you've got to have. I'm not going to say that you have to have 100 strike, but you have to have 125 by yourself. You need
Yeah.
125 by yourself every time. You
Hmm.
know, I'm almost to the point where I don't even want it out the truck. Like if your dog, they strike a track out of the truck, I would rather for my dog to just keep going if your dog trees that coon. I
Yeah.
don't want him there
Yeah.
because they can get themselves in a lot of trouble, backing other dogs or stuff like that. Because the problem is you can't train them to check the tree. So it might have a coon, it might be a possum, it could be empty, So there's a lot of stuff to that. And I will say this, I don't know everything. I'm still learning a lot in that area of fine tuning a hound.
Yeah.
And I think some of them can only be fine tuned to certain points, and then you
Yep.
just have to kind of work with what you got. But
They are what they are at a point. Yeah.
yeah. But the thing is that we like you take for instance, like Yant has Johnny, and Johnny used to run deer all night long and then fall off treat on raccoons. That's what he would do. Well,
Hmm.
here now lately, Yant said that he's in Missouri. Johnny is, and he said that Johnny has went to tree and layups when the coons are not moving. So he
Really?
stopped running. He stopped running so much trash. I ain't saying he's totally stopped because I don't know. I haven't hunted with him.
Yeah.
But Yant said he has slowed down on it.
Hmm.
Well, when they were young, when Max and Johnny were young, Max was more of a straighter edge dog.
Yeah.
Max is 23 months old now, and if it moves and there ain't coons moving, Max is going to run it. And I'm
Yeah.
just being honest with you. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I cut him loose with your dog, and I'll tell you, hey, they're like, when he barks, be like, what is that? I have no idea. We'll find out here in a minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
They go through stages, man. And I think the biggest thing with fine tuning the hound is, is introducing them to company the right way, and that's a lot of different aspects of how you do that.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm not really going to go into that area just
Yeah.
because everybody has their different methods. It's
We
not like I'm hiding the method.
we would need a whole nother podcast to do
Hundred
that.
percent, 100%, 100%. But here's the key. Here's the just to sum up that right there is, it's patience, it's repetition, and if you're correcting a dog for whatever you're correcting for it, you don't correct it on Monday night. On Tuesday night, you let it get away with it. On Wednesday night, you don't. It is it is mandatory. You don't do that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't do that. You
Yeah.
beat it in that dog's head. You know what I mean? So he
Mhm.
doesn't. And then it becomes a habit. The dog doesn't do it because it's a habit.
Yeah.
So coon hunting is. I mean, it's a great sport, man. You can you raise a dog and you get it to tree a wild animal, and then when you can get one to win on a high level, man, there's no better feeling, not
Yeah.
not in my eyes, of you know we Yant me last year we went to the super stakes. Max didn't do so good. He was treeing possums. His mind
Mm.
was on possums,
Yeah.
and he was going to tree possums, and he was doing it right in the super stakes. I
Yeah.
mean, he was up, and then but Johnny, he got through early and late. And I took that picture. Me and Steve Yant took that picture together, and that's probably one of the highlights of my life. And it's just doubling up at the super stakes. Do I
Yeah.
think we're going to do some more winning than that? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, but man, if people are looking for some kind of reward out of coon hunting, I don't think it's ever going to be monetary stuff. It's stuff that like feeds your inside of if you are a true houndsman,
Yeah.
and I want to
Absolutely.
be, and me personally, I want to be the best. Like if if I think socializing with the best is where you're going to learn to be the best,
Sure.
or and having an open mind to
Yeah.
certain stuff, but you at the same aspect, you can't have an open mind to every person that you talk to and they're trying to tell you something. You kind of got to get your foundation,
Yeah.
I think if I could tell any person that was starting to mess with coonhounds or was getting into the training aspects is to find some mentors and go with what they are and then come up with your own system. You can't see what you see over here on Facebook, this guy doing this and this other guy doing this and throw that all at that dog. You're just going to have a mixed up mess.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
go
so
go with some people and surround yourself by good people that you trust
and
and
the dog has to fit your personality, man. Like I'm
yeah,
high strung. I'm very high strung person. So when I pull Max out of the truck, what do you think he is?
spinning
He's
around in
high strong.
circles. Yeah.
He's high strong. It has to fit your personality.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's definitely a rewarding thing. I haven't, yet. I've won several big hunts. I haven't won anything. I think in the future looks bright. Like, I have Max. Max is a really nice young dog. He's probably the nicest young dog that I have ever personally trained.
Mhm.
Um, I started Johnny, but I can't take any credit for the finished product of what Johnny is right now. Steve
Yeah.
Yant has done all the work on him. But Steve, he's still at Steve's house, so I would say that you know he's a real. I've only hunted with him since he's been. He's only a little. Both of these dogs are just a little over two. Max is under 2 years old, right under 2 years, and Johnny's just a little bit over 2 years old.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is Steve's not going to keep a dog around that doesn't have raccoons when it trees, and it's going to be able to win at a high level.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time with
Yeah.
him.
Well, let's talk about Max. Because I had my young pup, and I was going through everything with him, and he was kind of special to me because he showed some of that natural ability at a really young age, and um, you know, I ended up selling him, but I was seeing these TikToks from this guy, Virginia Dave, out in Virginia, of this little dog he was calling Max, and I was like, man, that looks like a special dog, and you were
Yeah.
raving about him, and he was like young and treeing raccoons. So
Oh
just tell
yeah.
me about Max.
Max is one of them.
Wipe out Mighty Max, right? Isn't that his?
Wipe out Mighty Max, so old Peckerhead. He Mike Max. I might even start crying when I talk about that dog.
Yeah,
He he's special, very special dog.
yeah.
But he treated his first raccoon when he was 4 months old. So I don't know why I got upset a little bit, but anyways,
That's all
I've
right,
never
man.
owned one like him.
Yeah.
He listen, he does a whole lot of crap wrong. But the
Mhm.
thing about that dog is, since he was 4 months old, all he's ever wanted to do was tree raccoons or
Hmm.
run game. I mean, he is what a hunter wants. Like, I mean, that dog sleeps all day long. Well, he don't sleep if you're he's wide open in the pen too. I mean, he's probably got every worst habit that you could think of on a hound. But here's the thing: is, I was given that dog. Max was raised by a beagle because his mom tried to kill him.
Mm.
Um, and when I got Max, he looked like a beagle. He was real tiny.
Yeah.
I mean, he rode right here in front of my thing, and you know, he started treeing raccoons when he was about 4 or 5 months old. And I'm not making this up. This is documented. Like
Yeah.
he has been doing that successfully since he was about 5 or 6 months old. He's been treeing raccoons. Now, I've never seen one like him. I've never seen one like, and he's got the heart. He's a little tiny, about 50-pound dog, but he's got the heart of a lion, man. I
Yeah.
mean, you cannot shut him down when it comes to training. You
Yep.
cannot beat him down. I don't care what you do when you correct him. And here's something I do know. I'll add this in there. The good ones, when you correct them, they will get underneath a raccoon. And that is something I've learned from, you know, the last couple of years is that that usually the good ones, when you correct them, they'll get under a raccoon. So
Yeah.
Max is just definitely a really special he's a really special pup, man. I'm hoping that he wins on a high level. um I just never have trained one like him. You'd have to hunt with him to understand. He's just one of them dogs. When you cut loose, you don't know what's going to happen, man, but something's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
I believe I lost a video on you.
we've got just a little camera thing going on, but we're gonna keep rolling here.
Okay.
Yeah, Max, what I seen from the TikToks and everything I've heard you talk about him, he's definitely one that's got a ton of heart. Um, and I guess where things kind of where do they stand right now with Max?
So I'm just starting to put Max into, back into hunts. He kind of went backwards on the summertime. He decided he was going to become a fox and a possum dog. So we had to take him and work on him.
Yeah,
And he's been a challenge the whole time because here's the thing is with him is he's not treeing raccoons for you. He's not hunting for you. He's
yeah,
hunting for himself.
yeah,
So, you know, he's just a natural born hunter, man. And them type of dogs, man, they're real hard to get 100% true, like where they're only running raccoons.
yeah,
Max is yet like that, but so Max, I would say you'll be seeing him probably in the next couple months. I would say that you'll see him this winter. Um, we should start winning with him, and he's done a lot of winning to be a young dog. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
he's got 2 wins towards grand, and he's about $400 short of being a PKC champion. I mean, a PKC silver champion.
Hmm.
He's qualified for the tournament champions. He's qualified for the UKC World. We're taking him out to the UKC World qualifier this next coming up week. It will be
Yeah.
in Tennessee.
Okay. Yeah.
And then and then Johnny was the exact opposite of Max. Johnny, when he was 9 or 10 months old, just loaf around, and then he decided he wanted to go hunting, and Johnny ran deer. And the one that Yance got, I mean, he's a big old houndy hound, got a big old houndy mouth on him. uh Great looking, great bred, well bred dog. And he started a little bit later. And but that's why I was saying is some people would have probably you know got rid of Johnny.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I just seen him because he was a wanderer. And if I can't drive anything else home, man, is this right here. If you got that pup that runs out behind your house and he's wandering off in the woods, and you're like, what in the world is he doing? Like,
Yeah.
what is he doing? That's the dog, man. That's
Yeah.
the one.
Yeah.
That's the one that you can't train that in them.
Yeah, everybody listening and watching, you better get out a notepad and write that one down, because that's a good tip. Is especially if you're picking out a pup, but in a litter, you pull up to somebody's house and there's a whole litter of them. You might look at that one that's off to itself, 20,
And
30,
and they
40 feet away.
and some of them get it fast, and some, Mac, like I said, Max was he was very easy to train on the front end.
Hmm.
He was. Like, I mean, to get running and treeing, it was nothing to get that dog to train. The
Yeah.
back end of Max has been long, hard, frustrating. I have sat in my truck and cried, wondering. There's a couple times I thought I'm ruining him
Yeah.
because I done lost my patience.
Yep.
But the little dog don't never shut down. He just keeps coming back, keeps coming back, keeps
Yep.
coming back. Johnny, was hard on the front end. And it seems like after Yant's got him, he's got him in there zero. And we've kind of been taking our time with Johnny. We haven't been putting him in a lot of hunts. We put him in that $50,000 pro classic. Was the purse was 50,000.
Hmm.
I think Steve he got him in early, and then Steve actually overheated himself and had to withdraw Johnny. You know,
Yeah.
He's always paid for himself.
Yeah.
Like when we put him in two hunts, he's gonna get our money back. So dogs like that, 80% cast winners, man, are that's what you're looking for if you're
Yeah.
if you're looking for a dog to put on the road.
Yeah.
But I think these two young dogs have got a real bright future. I, I I could be wrong.
I
But
I'd say you're
Steve,
I'd say you're right. Yeah.
Steve, and me and Steve get along so good we think the same when it comes to a dog, far as like the attributes it should have. Can it stand correction? Does it have heart?
Yeah.
We like dogs with a lot of heart, like a lot of heart. They gotta have heart.
Yeah.
They gotta have heart, and they gotta have a raccoon. But here's the other thing where me and Steve really think a lot alike: is taking care of the dog.
Yeah.
Like that right there, if I can't drive nothing else home, take care of your dog. Don't pull your dog out the truck and it look like a bag of bones, man. I mean,
Hmm.
if you think that that looks good, or do you think that that dog is going to perform on a high level, you're sadly mistaken.
Yeah.
It's not. It's just not going to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it starts with that. It's just like your child. I mean, if you don't feed your child good food, it's just going to turn out. Your child's going to be. It's not. It's going to be. You have to have a healthy dog, and it
Yeah.
has to be vetted correctly, because they can get worms, tick-borne pathogens. I mean,
Yeah.
they can mess a dog up bad, and then when you've got to run the cycle of doxy on them, sometimes they never respond from that.
Yeah. I know.
So instead of just giving them the pill and saying, "Oh, well, he'll be okay," then think in your head, there's some stuff that I do to keep ticks off them. We don't want them to get Lyme's disease. It's
Yep.
not that, oh, they're going to get it. I just might as well let them get it.
Yeah.
It's trying not to let them get it, because that stuff is going to affect that dog later on. But
Absolutely.
the thing is that you know yeah, training dogs is a very rewarding thing, man. And you will, if you stop learning, I really believe that you might as well just stop training dogs, because I learn something every day messing with the dog. And the coon hounding world is it's a very wide range of people, but there is a lot of good. There's some bad people in the coon hunting world, but there's some very good people that are great with dogs, and training them. And I don't know, man. I just love coon hunting, and I
Yeah.
love the train. I love the training aspect of a dog, especially the later stage. The earlier stage, I really like it. It's exciting when you get that pup, but
Oh
that
yeah.
later stage, that process can go on for a
Yeah.
year and a half, and then it's with Max. I don't think a dog really stops learning until they're about 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's when you're at your finished product.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the way you talk about Max, it could be, he might be one of those dogs that, he's got all the ability and everything's right there. It just might take to 3 or 4 for everything to really click together, and
Yeah,
him to.
coon train is not. I tell people all the time, coon train is not Max's problem.
Mhm.
That's not his problem.
Yeah.
Everything else is his he's just a wild dog, man. I
Yeah.
mean, he's a wild child, and
Yeah.
they're hard to train, man. I'm
Mhm.
telling you, man. Oh man,
Well,
that dog there, buddy.
real quick, talking about the tick stuff and everything. Like for example, with mine, I have him on Simparica Trio. Have had him on it since the day I got him. Um, I try to take as good a care as him as possible. Spray him down with permethrin before we hunt. Um, so he's still got it, and I've heard you before talk about. The new stuff that's out, Quattro, I believe is what it's called. And
Cordelio, is that how you pronounce it?
I
Cordelio
yeah, I'm
is
I'm
it,
not
it,
sure.
it starts with a C. So here's the thing: is I think Sapentro Trio is a good medication,
Hmm.
right? But the tick has to stay on the dog for 24 hours
Yep.
in order for it to kill the dog.
Yep.
Okay. And I'm not a veterinarian. I'm not any of that. I'm not any of that. But just think about it. This parasite is staying on your animal for 24 hours or up to 48 hours, I think it is with Sequential Trio.
Yeah.
That just gives that dog, that just takes the risk level that much higher
Yep.
for that dog to contract that tick-borne pathogen.
Yep.
So I think that anything that you can give them that makes that time frame
Less.
shorter
Yeah.
is better.
Yep.
And so the Cordelio, or however you pronounce it, it is I think it's 4 hours.
Yeah. I think you're right,
And
and it's
and
worked
then,
good for
and
you.
then I spray mine down, like you said, I use permethrin. I spray them down with permethrin like twice a week. If I'm hunting in water a lot, I
Hmm.
spray them down, and then I give them a bath once a week so I can check them over. And and listen, I don't mean to be funny about that, but some of them are going to get it. It's
Yeah.
nothing you can do about it. But if you try to do everything that you possibly can do, and they still get it. But I do think there is going to be, that medication there used to be just for ticks and fleas. Now it's ticks, fleas, and heartworms,
Hmm.
and I think it's way superior. It's way superior than Sequential Trio.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I, I just do.
Yeah.
And Steve, we've had some veterinarians that are out in, like, California, in that area there, and see, they've had these tick-borne pathogens for a long time,
Yeah.
and he swears by the Cordelio is
Yeah.
that because it kills the ticks. I mean, I've picked a tick off of Max or Johnny before that's been on them for about an hour and a half to 2 hours, and it's dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
And
completely dead.
to each their own. You do
Right.
what you want to do, but basically what we're saying is you're going to put all the time and effort into the dog. You might as well try to take care of it as best you possibly can.
And
Um,
then they have that Lyme's vaccine now. I give that to them. We give that to them. That kind of keeps them from getting Lyme's.
yeah.
The Arlikia, that one is hard. That one's it's hard, man. It's hard. But I think if you're very vigilant about it, the odds of your dog getting it decrease
Yeah.
by a great amount.
Yep.
I do think that even the person that's that's anal about it, they can still get it.
Yep.
But
Yep.
you just have to do everything in your power, because, like I said, that doxycycline, man, I've had it where it has really, the dog never bounces back.
Yeah.
It never comes back to where it was. It knocks their nose down sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense to you or not, but it
Yeah.
makes
I've
them
I've
like where
heard
they
that.
can't smell as good.
I've heard that.
Yeah, yeah. So and it's a powerful
Yeah.
antibiotic that you're
Yeah.
giving the
And
dog.
I've seen so many, some people will say, man, my dog never looked the same. And then some will say, yeah, 30 days of doxy and he was good, right back to
Yep.
normal. And so it's too much of a risk if you can just try to, you know, negate it right off the gate and take as best care of your dogs as you can. But um yeah, if you could you just tell me how is Max bred?
So Max is off of a dog out of Virginia called Wipeout Edge, and then on the bottom side, he's out of a female named Jazzy, that is out of Rack 'em Up Willie,
Mhm.
bred to a Johnny Be Good female.
Okay.
So he's a little scatterbred. Max is a little he's got Zeb 3, which is what I love.
Hmm.
Like I usually won't own a hound, and people out here just listening to this, y'all know how I am. If
Yeah.
it doesn't have Zeb 3 in it, I don't really want nothing to do with it.
Hashtag
Uh,
wipeout junk, right?
yeah.
Isn't
Oh
that
yeah.
what you always put
Yeah.
on there?
Oh yeah, yeah. I actually picked up the wipeout jump. Steve's been saying that for a long, long time, but and Johnny, he's off of Z, Wipeout Z, and then his his name is Wipeout Threesome Raleigh. So he's heavy Wipeout bred. Max is a little bit more scatterbred than Johnny.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say either one is better than the other. It's just two different types of, but they're both wipeout bred dogs.
Yeah.
That's just kind of what I like. I like the wild dogs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Usually they're
Well,
wild.
what's in store for them two coming up? Any big hunts? Are you still just plugging away and working on them?
I'm gonna probably go up to Tennessee to take Max to the World Qualifier,
Hmm.
and then so this winter we'll probably hit some pretty large pro classics,
Hmm.
and then I don't know. We don't have no surefire plan, but we'll be popping up with them periodically when we got them
Yeah.
looking to where they are. But the older they get, we'll probably start pushing them more. Of course, the spring super stakes. I've never, we Steve doubled up Johnny. I've never doubled up a dog, so I want to double a dog up at the super stakes.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I'm going to. I don't know if this year coming is going to be
Yeah.
this year. I don't know, but I'm hoping it is.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it is. It's just yeah. So we're gonna plan on we'll plan on I would say by the end of next year, this time, Johnny should be a platinum champion and Max should be pretty close
Yeah.
to that. We're gonna try to get Johnny his 5 wins from the TOC so Steve can take him to the TOCs.
Yeah, well,
Um,
I'll be looking out for all that.
Yeah, like I said, you call Yan up. I know you're about 3 or 4 hours from him, but
Yeah.
that would be a good hunt to go up there and take your dog and go up there and hunt with him.
Yeah.
He's a wealth of knowledge. I'm blessed to have him in my life.
Yeah.
He can he can be intimidating when you see him at a hunt because I used to look at the coon the pro hound and look at Yant winning 20 years ago, man, and
Yeah.
to work with him now. It's something else, man. To be
Yeah.
able to call him on the phone and say, "Hey, man, I got this problem," or "Hey, this or that," and yeah, I have enjoyed our relationship, man. He's a character.
Yeah.
He's a character, and
Yeah.
he knows dogs. And Steve's method is less is better.
Yeah.
That's his method.
Yeah.
I'm a little more, I think higher strong than Steve,
Yeah. Well,
but yeah, yes,
Steve's been at the top of the game for years and years and years, and um,
yeah, and he knows what it takes.
yeah, I'd love to have a conversation with him. Love to meet him and hunt with him or anything. I mean, that'd be great. But
Yeah.
well, man, I mean, we've been at it for an hour and 7 minutes. I don't want to hold you up any longer or anything like that. But what a what a bunch of great information. I mean, really, tons of good information. And you got anything you want to say or just anything before anybody to thank or anything like that before we close out?
Yeah, I just like to say I know I've said it 2 or 3 times that you know that special pup, that wandering pup is most of the time in my experience, that's the one. That
Yeah.
one that you cut loose with the dogs and it doesn't do anything. It's just off by itself.
Yeah.
That pup right there is the special pup. That's the ones that usually people get rid of because they're not in the middle of the mix, and that's
Yeah.
the one. And yeah, no, that's really it, man. I mean, yeah, I just, I like to thank my fiance for putting up with me,
Yeah.
and all my friends for putting up with me on the phone, calling them about my problems with my dogs. Because it's like a circus in the morning time. We all call each other. We're talking dogs, and but it's just, I guess it's just a way of life,
Yeah, I'm gonna have to add you to my call loop, I guess, because I got my own loop of people I call
Right, right.
to lean
Yep,
on and
yep.
cry to about my dog problems. So
Oh yeah,
um, no, and the other thing you said there, it definitely takes special women in our lives to put up with us, and yeah, very thankful for that. But man,
yeah,
I really appreciate you coming on here. I think
yeah,
people are really going to enjoy this one. And go ahead, tell everyone if they want to check out some of your videos on TikTok or Facebook. Just I assume it's David Lewis on Facebook, and where can they find
yeah.
you on
It's
TikTok?
David Lewis on Facebook, and actually, recently I changed my name on TikTok because I started an online store. So it's the name of that, my name on Facebook is Biohacker 3644.
Okay.
But you can look up Virginia Coon Hunter
Hmm.
on TikTok, and you should pull my videos up
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I use that hashtag. But yeah, and I haven't been posting as many videos lately just because I've been so concentrated on trying to get Max where I needed to get him at.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna get ready to start posting some more. But there's some great content on there of of dogs and stuff that I used to do with Max, and
Yeah.
I'm always available if somebody's got a question. You can feel free to reach out to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, everybody that's watching or listening, go check that stuff out. If you want to see some old clips of Max or Johnny, there'll be a bunch of good stuff on there for sure. And well, I guess there's nothing else but to thank you for coming on here. And
Yeah, thank you.
I wish you guys, you and Max and Steve and Johnny, all of you, the best of luck going forward. Hopefully you can double up at that super stakes, and just have nothing but the best of luck. So
Yeah.
all right, well,
All right,
David,
man. I appreciate it, man.
yep, I appreciate you, and take care of yourself.
Yes, sir.
Well, there you go. Wow, that was a great conversation. I spoke with, like I said, with David probably a year ago, and from the moment I talked to him, I knew he knew a thing or two about raising young dogs and just how to go about things in general. So I really hope you guys enjoyed that one. As always, make sure you like and subscribe. We're approaching the 1,000 subscriber mark on YouTube, and everything's going in the right direction. So we're looking forward to the future here at Holt Outdoors. And if you got any questions, anything like that, reach out to us, send us a direct message. Check us out anywhere where you get your podcast if you're not watching on YouTube. So, yep, tonight I'm planning to hit the woods, and we'll be having more videos coming and more podcasts. So till next time, see ya.